Assistant Commissioner, we'd welcome it if you could make some opening remarks, and then I'll open it up for a committee discussion.
We witnessed significant harm from use, cultivation and trafficking of cannabis. As detailed in our written submission, we acknowledge that decisions to decriminalise or legalise cannabis or other illicit drugs is a matter for the state government. We support the current legislative framework for illicit drugs.
Is it mostly imported or is it homegrown in some of the farms in the rural area?
The importation certainly exists of cannabis, but predominantly what we see is locally grown.
In terms of the mental health impacts and the presentations to our emergency departments, could you comment on that, particularly in relation to cannabis use or psychotic episodes with young people?
The amount of time that emergency departments are spending on mental health presentations that either have cannabis as a driver or a polydrug focus as the driver, exacerbating existing mental health issues, are significant.
So how can we go about introducing an impairment test for driving under the influence of cannabis, and what should the limit be?
To reduce harm means that there should be no impairment. So the answer to your question would be zero.
It raises a serious question about justice to my mind though. Like, are you confident that everyone that gets caught with one of these tests is actually impaired?
I'm confident that everyone who is detected has cannabis in their system, and that currently is the legislative requirement that you don't.
You noted that 70% of those eligible to receive a cannabis cautioned were indeed cautioned. And for what reasons would police not issue a caution to an eligible offender?
People must be in possession of a small non-trafficable amount of cannabis. They have to admit the offence. They have to be over 18, because if they're under 18, then they undergo a child cautioning program.
It's been around, I think, since probably the late 1990s. So it's been a policy of the police for 20 odd years. And in some ways, it's actually has the effect of decriminalisation. You know, it's treating cannabis use as a health issue rather than a criminal one.
If we didn't have the caution program and everyone who was detected had to appear before court, the courts would be quickly overwhelmed, even more than they are now.
Maybe you have some evidence where the cannabis user are more likely to be user of some other drugs, illicit drugs.
People aren't just using cannabis alone. There is a use with other drugs, with other criminal offending.
Can I just go to the prohibition aspect that you have put into the submission? And it's a really interesting one, because we often hear that prohibition doesn't work.
Prohibition alone, or telling people that you cannot do something, may not be ultimately successful unless you have those complementary services or programs or practices.
It seems that there's many serious harms of prohibition. Like, one is the criminal record.
It's one of those things, employment, stigma. So it's one of the reasons behind having a cautioning program, to give a person that chance to recognise, put their hand up, get treatment. And if all that happens, then it's not a permanent stain on your character by virtue of a criminal record.
Do you think there's anything that we could do further to inhibit cannabis use amongst young people?
Predominantly our young people are really smart, really engaged, a generation of wanting to know, inquisitive people. So I think it would give them the opportunity to really understand the harm that exists around cannabis. I think they'll make some smart decisions. Now, that requires some commitment, some discipline to stay the course.
Thank you to all the committee members for a really great conversation, and I will draw this hearing to a close. Thanks, everyone.